What is up? Welcome back to Drummers on Drumming, a podcast powered by Big Fat Snare Drum. My name is Ben Hilsinger, and we're back with another installment of The Drum Panel. Today, I'm joined again by my co-host Eric Urrea, Chicago-based drummer who plays with Marina City, Armada, and a lot of other bands, and also Zack Albetta, who is the current drummer for the touring Broadway production of Juliet. He's also the co-host of Working Drummer Podcast, and he texted me a few days ago, and we decided to tackle the concept of cynicism, and I think we solved it. Cheers.
I, like so many people, recently became aware of this phenomenon that is Angine de Poitrine, this sort of like microtonal math rock duo out of Quebec. And, my initial reaction to it was Clint Eastwood on his porch, just like, what the fuck are these clowns doing? But, like over the course of a couple of weeks, it grew on me to the point where I'm very much here for them now and want to sort of talk about them as a musical phenomenon, as an artistic expression. It led to a conversation I'm still having with myself about cynicism, like some other, my initial reaction and some other people's reaction to Angine de Poitrine is very cynical, and it made me realize that I'm very prone to cynicism, and it's a part of myself that I don't really like, and we'll get into all of that. But I want Eric to go first, because every time I do one of these, every time I listen to one of these, Eric patiently waits his turn. And then after like 20 or 25 fucking minutes, somebody is like, "Oh, Eric, yes, you're here too. What, anything to say?" So, Eric, the floor is yours.
I think I actually had a pretty similar reaction. I think they showed up on like my TikTok or Instagram first. And as soon as I saw the paper mache heads, I was like, what is this gimmicky nonsense?
Yeah.
And then the more they started popping up, I was like, oh, okay. It's kind of the real deal. They're good.
Yeah.
But I super appreciate the acknowledgement of cynicism in the conversation, because I'm super guilty of that too. I was for sure insufferable about things like that in my younger age. I probably would not be friends with high school me today. But yeah, I mean, I grew up a total prog nerd, so I was like, if it's not in 7, it's not cool. So
this is one of the reasons I wanted to hear from you first, because out of the three of us, I feel like what they're doing is the most in your wheelhouse in terms of the music you grew up listening to and in terms of your knowledge about that world.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this would have been my favorite band when I was in high school. like completely unironically, it would have been my favorite band if I had discovered them at the right point in my life. But yeah, I mean, I can look at it now and first realize that I'm being cynical about it and be like, okay, this is gimmicky. They're wearing masks. Everybody's wearing masks nowadays. It's the new cool thing. And then kind of realize, oh, actually, the musicianship's kind of cool and kind of interesting, and they're doing cool things, and I appreciate the presentation of it. It's very arty, and I've gotten to a point now where I take a look at things like this and I go, this isn't necessarily what I would want to do as a musician myself, but I love that there's somebody out there doing this.
Yep, same. Yeah, like it's not what I want to listen to while I'm washing dishes.
Yeah.
But when you take in the presentation as a whole, it's like, holy shit, there's something bizarre and cool and otherworldly and compelling, and fucking go, boys.
Yeah.
So as someone whose wheelhouse this is more than any of us, can you contextualize these guys musically in the greater sort of prog rock or math rock landscape?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're very much doing like the art for art's sake thing, which I agree. I really appreciate that aspect of prog rock, and that's like what drew me into the prog rock world when I was younger. I like that there's people out there pushing the boundaries of what we can do. So yeah, I mean, they certainly slot right into that classic well, I shouldn't say classic. They're not a Rush or an Emerson, Lake and Palmer or something like that.
Right. Not yet.
But they certainly, no, not yet. But they certainly fit the prog rock mold. What's interesting to me is they like fall in line with something like a Primus to me, where it's kind of, it's self-aware. It's a little bit comical and funny. There's weird like lore world building. The visual presentation's a big part of it. It's a little bit clunky and goofy, but then the microtonal aspect is, I think, something that has not broken mainstream in this way, as far as I'm aware. There's a big festival in Chicago, Riot Fest, that has like all of these kind of heavier bands, and these guys have been, at least I've been aware of them for probably like 6 to 9 months, and came out of nowhere. And these guys are like a main stage, not quite headliner, but like high up in the billing. I was like, whoa, what is going on? Right below Tool.
Well, for the reasons that, you initially thought they were gimmicky, do you think they would be where they are without that gimmick right now?
I don't think so. I will say the mask thing is a gimmick, but it's also like the way that they present their art. Like it's the whole package,
Yeah, I'm also going to push back against the word gimmick because, sometimes something like this is legitimately a gimmick, and this leads to our, the conversation we're going to have about cynicism. Like, if they're only wearing the outfits so that people will listen to music that they otherwise wouldn't listen to, then to me that is cynical. That is a gimmick. But I want to give these guys the benefit of the doubt and believe that the masks and the outfits and the entire visual aesthetic of the thing is part of the artistic statement as a whole. Like, I don't think of this as a band, really. I think of it as performance art. And that doesn't mean that it's, incredibly high-minded or highfalutin. It's just what they're doing. This is what our creativity came up with. And I don't think you can separate the costumes and the masks and the visual aspect from the music. They're both part of the same creative expression.
Well, I guess I do want to hyper-focus on the thing you said, which is, and maybe we'll just hop into it, if they did say, we love our music, we were proud of it, but we acknowledge that we got to have something to get people to look at us, and that's why we did the masks. And there was some creativity in that. They're like, okay, it's going to serve a goal, but let's be creative in a way that extends who we are. But the goal ultimately is, because we know that like the way the internet works, it's the year of our Lord 2026. I don't necessarily immediately go to the cynicism of that. It's just that is a vessel. It's like every time you do an interview, that's not really an extension of the songs you want to do, or the least favorite part is picking out the outfit for the album cover or the single art, like that stuff all feels like the same thing as putting on what they're doing, if that was the goal, was just to get more eyes. So I get what you're saying about the cynicism, and we'll get into more, but that specifically I don't think that would make it cheap to me, because I think we expect the people playing the music, you want to see them being themselves, authentically themselves. But it's like, why is having a character to present your art any less artistic? It's like Salvador Dali, you wouldn't say that's gimmicky. That's just how he wanted to express himself. Those weird ass clocks, he distorted reality. But maybe you go to have dinner with him, he's a normal guy, but it's like, that's not inauthentically him.
I mean, he wasn't, but
I don't know anything about art, so that was just my example. But it's like Norman Rockwell. I don't know. What if he was like this gutter punk? I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, I guess I wouldn't fault them.
Well, to your point, I think that their physical presentation reflects their musical presentation. So it's
in a
like
weird way, it does.
Yeah. It's like you bring out the term gutter punk, right? Like, just like you said, it's the same way a gutter punk band would dress up like gutter punks, right? They're not going to wear like a 3-piece suit and be like, we're a crust punk band. Like, it doesn't
that would
really
get views, though.
It would get, I guess that would honestly, that might be more of a gimmicky approach than like kind of what they're doing, where their music is already art for art's sake, so then the presentation is kind of that same thing. It also is worth noting that everyone sure is doing the mask thing right now, but these guys aren't doing scary masks. You know, like everyone's doing the kind of Slipknot horror mask thing, which is fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I guess thinking about it, I don't know that I've seen many bands who are doing like funny masks. Like this is like comically, intentionally stupid, non-derogatory. You know? Yeah,
and it's interesting that Ben brought up Dolly. Because in reading, it's in reading about these guys, like, you know, so there's been a lot said and a lot written about these guys in the last few months, and in consuming some of it, I've learned that their aesthetic, from an artistic standpoint, people have put it sort of under the umbrella of Dadaism, and Dadaism was the artistic precursor to surrealism. So like Dali is solidly surrealist. This movement called Dadaism came right before surrealism in the early 20th century, and it was absurdist. It was nonsensical, and it was a reaction to World War I and military industrialization and capitalism. Like, so this artistic movement came along that was just like, we are going to be absurd. It's not going to make any sense. It's going to be funny. It's going to be stupid. You're not going to understand it. There's nothing to understand. And I don't know that these guys would say like, yes, we are a Dadaist artistic expression. I don't know that they would cop to that. And, you know, maybe there is some really complex and profound message behind what they're doing, and maybe it is utterly absurdist. I can't say, and either way I'm kind of here for it. But yeah, just in terms of like the mask thing and the aesthetic of it, I think when he was running for president, Barack Obama said, if I could pick my own name and I knew I was going to run for president, I would not pick Barack Hussein Obama. This wasn't my plan. And I feel like, you know, the reason that I don't want to ascribe too much cynicism to these guys is like, if they wanted a gimmick to, you know, get them views and get them likes, I feel like what they've gone with is just too bizarre for it to be a cynical, calculated choice.
I'm curious why you automatically attach. I don't mean this to attack you. I'm just curious but it's like,
no,
the idea that they did it. No, but because I agree with you. But I'm saying, like, why is it like immediately cynical to, if they're like, I don't know, we just pulled something out of a hat. That's definitely not the case. But I mean, like, why is it strictly if it was to get them a bigger platform, and they were like, that's cool enough. I like that. I could walk on stage and not want to, you know, immediately walk off wearing that. Cool, let's do it. Let's do it. Why is that any less artistic? It's just, why is that immediately a cynical view for you?
I mean, there are varying degrees of cynicism for sure, but it's almost like a sort of Trojan horse. Like, I'm gonna grab your eyeballs with something bizarre, so that you'll listen to this music, which is what I really care about. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is, you know, slightly gimmicky and slightly cynical. And, you know, there's nothing necessarily wrong with a gimmick or with some cynicism. And like, I want to get into this conversation about cynicism more broadly, but I don't think the visual aesthetic was in service to getting people to listen to the music. I think they were conceived and developed together in concert with each other. But to your point, like, even if it was a way to get their music heard by more people, that's not necessarily a bad thing or a wrong thing, which is what you're saying, right?
Yes, exactly. It doesn't make me view them any less as an entity, whether it's a pure extension. I don't know, even if their manager was like, you guys sound great, but to be honest, you're boring to look at. My mom has these two things in her attic. You want to put these on? I'm like, sure. I'd be like, but that's a beautiful story also. You know,
right?
I don't know.
Right.
To be fair, though, and what I think is particularly interesting about this band is I feel like one doesn't work without the other.
Yeah.
Like, I think if it was just this music with just like two regular guys, I don't think it would be interesting. And similarly, if it was like really plain vanilla music and they were dressed like that, it also wouldn't work. What I think is like cool and refreshing about this whole thing, especially with like the AI aspect, of that kind of looming on the horizon, is that I am so once again encouraged by the fact that I think that people respond to authenticity. And we can look at this thing and our brain immediately goes, oh, what is this gimmicky thing going? And then we can be won over.
Yeah.
I think is such a refreshing thing. And I should also note, I'm saying this 9 months before everyone is sick of this band and we've all turned and they're like, this band's so lame. Yeah, they become super popular and then, the tides change because they sell out. Yeah.
They're gonna be backing up Luke Bryant in 2027.
Exactly.
But no, like Eric, your point is a great one. Like the music and the aesthetic enhance each other, and whether they were conceived of together or separately, one after the other, it is a perfect marriage of a sight and a sound, and they should be given credit for that. And about the AI thing, this is such a human project. Like, yes, it's built on loops and it's built on these electronic and digital tools and whatever, but like I look at this and I'm like, your move, AI. This is something that only human weirdos could have come up with. What the fuck you got?
Yeah, I also think from their perspective, I'll start with a little anecdote. When I was on tour last year with Nicky Yor, we were on tour during Halloween, and we all went out and got costumes, blah, blah, blah. And I was the Red Power Ranger. And I went on stage with the Red Power Ranger mask on. And it's so freeing to just know that you can do anything. Not that I make weird faces. I definitely do. But that's not the reason. It was just I was in my own little... No one could associate the guy on stage with the dude that's going to fart in his bunk later. Like, I was a thing on stage. And it was so fun to visually also not be Ben. And so I get why they probably make different music. Like, I'm curious if they write the music with the masks on. Like, are they in the practice spot with like gym shorts on, but they have just because that does cutting off a few of your senses will change how you interpret and perceive the world and react to things. So the headphones he has to have for those, they're huge.
I was just picturing them just being like, man, I don't have any ideas for new songs. Hold on. And they put the helmet on and they're like, yeah, what about this?
Man, I hope that's how it goes.
Well, Zach, I mean, did you want to broach the subject of talking about it in a broader sense? Did you have a specific direction you wanted to go with it? Because I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, apart from this band specifically, my sort of conversation with myself about cynicism, like I said earlier, it made me. I already knew I was prone to cynicism, but it was just sort of another instance and a moment of clarity for me, I guess. Cynicism is often not as cool or as funny or as smart as we think it is. And I think some people use it as a sort of, both their sword and their shield. I think they make it the centerpiece of their sense of humor. And don't get me wrong, some of my favorite people ever have been incredibly dark and cynical in their outlook and their disposition. I'm thinking of Mark Maron. I'm thinking of Anthony Bourdain, George Carlin, people who took it to, a high art. But in everyday life, a lot of times it just reads as incredibly negative. And I know I've been that guy. I know I have just sort of exuded negativity about one thing or another. And it really has the ability to poison a room or to poison a creative process or to poison a relationship. It just was a check-in with myself about like I said, cynicism isn't necessarily bad, and it's a good tool. It can protect you from certain things, but taken too far, it's just negative. It's just bad, and nobody wants to be around it. And that's the conversation I'm having with myself.
Sure. And I forget who said it, but there's a bunch of stages in life, and I'm not sure where I sit in it, but it's like you don't know anything, then you think everything's great, you're in awe of everything, then you become cynical, and then the fourth stage is that you realize nothing matters, and so you just get to choose that everything's amazing again. I think highly intelligent people become cynical. You start to see what's behind the man behind the curtain, you know? But speaking of Mark Maron and George Carlin, I think for those guys specifically, I think of them as some of the most empathetic people, the things they talk about, how they choose to use their artistry to prop up ideas. I think cynicism sometimes breeds empathy in a way that is beautiful. And I think that portion of people's lives, or the doing it unaware, is important for people because it makes you think about shit, you know, like that doesn't make sense. And this all sucks. Before we get too far into that, I want to ask you, when did you first realize that you were like, man, my knee-jerk reaction is the cynical perspective?
It was kind of something I always knew about myself, and I've been more and more aware of it as I've gotten older. And, you know, the more aware of it I become, the more I try to fight it, the more I try to overcome it. And I've had role models in my life who were incredibly cynical and still are, and they're in me, you know, but I've had other role models in my life who were the opposite. And I'm trying to turn the volume up on them and turn the volume down on those other people. Yeah, I don't know if there was a specific moment, but, you know, once in a while, something will come out my mouth and my wife will be like, could you not be your dad right now?
Totally.
So that's an ever-present check on my disposition, you know.
Well, I think bonding with people over a negative thing is the quickest way to bond with someone.
Yes. This is an excellent point, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Please.
Commiseration is an easy way to form a connection.
Yes.
Right? If you say, man, this fucking sucks, and somebody else is like, yeah, this really does fucking suck, then you're bonded.
Yep.
And you're not bonded in a positive way, but you're bonded. Like misery loves company.
It's a more immediate but a weaker bond, for sure. And I think that, especially on the road, we meet so many people, and there's so much to complain about on the road, that seeking camaraderie and community on the road is the easiest thing, is to just kind of always look for that negative thing to bitch about, you know? And so I think that our industry kind of breeds cynicism in a way, and then your final form is a local sound guy. No, I'm kidding. But
the final
you
boss.
morph one day into a butterfly.
Right. A butterfly with a wallet chain.
I mean, I guess I'm kind of talking in real time, so I don't know if I had an endpoint to that. But Eric, what do you feel about that, Mr. Golden Retriever?
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Mr. Midwest
no,
Nice.
I've never been cynical in my entire life. No, what I think is interesting is, like, yes, the negative cynicism does, like, bond people really easily, but it's also incredibly risky.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's like being like, man, I really hated that movie that we all just watched, and someone else was like, that was my favorite movie. And then,
Totally.
and then that whole relationship's weird, you know? So I kind of like, I got to a point where I was like, okay, do I want to be right, quote unquote, in my own brain, or do I want to be fun to be around?
That's huge. Yes,
And
that's huge.
That kind of became the thing for me, is like I said, I was such a nightmare about this band or this artist is garbage and you should listen to Dream Theater. That's the pinnacle of music. Like, that was me in high school, which is hilarious.
Awesome.
Now looking back.
Look out, ladies.
Yeah. Oh, geez. But no, I mean, like, I just got to a point where it's like, why am I, like, this is just not fun energy to put out into the world. It's not productive for me. I'm not learning anything. Like, it's just, it doesn't, I do think that cynicism is valid in certain aspects, and it's, you know, it's a worthwhile defense mechanism at times, but that idea of being right in my brain or being fun to be around is the balancing act that I always think about in my head.
Yeah, and the riskiness of it, you're touching on. I talked to my therapist about this yesterday. Partly this, partly other stuff, but he talked about how, so Ben, like, you mentioned how, like, cynicism or bitching or whatever can be a way to bond with people, and it can, but to Eric's point and to my therapist's point, it can just as easily hijack connection.
Yes.
Because if someone's disposition towards a thing, or disposition in general, is sort of generally positive, generally upbeat, you know, and you come along with your fucking rain cloud, then that's a disconnect with that person. And their defenses are going to come up. They're going to be like, whoa, I can't let this person in my kitchen because I'm trying to have a good time here, and they're obviously not.
Totally. And the reason why I brought that up is because I've made a choice to not be that guy. You know, that's a huge part of me. And our mutual friend, Justin Yates, I love him to death. I don't know if I've talked about this on the pod before, but he was our monitor guy for Cannons. And on our first headline tour, we were still in a band and we were hotel mates. And so I just got to know that he was always in a positive mood, always. And we went on this little date night in New York City one night on a day off. And I was just like, how do you do it, man? He literally said that every time he walks into a room, he thinks of something he's stoked about in that room. And it really stuck with me that I internalized it. I was like, oh, that's cool anyways, let's have a beer. Like at the end of the tour, it was our last hotel room, and I walk in the bathroom, and I was like, yo, Justin, the grout in this bathroom is so fucking cool, dude. And from the background, he was like, hell yeah, dude. And I wouldn't have thought of that stuff. I think it's so important to be that person that you're like, oh yeah, that guy's always happy, you know. And I'm not saying you have to be fake all the time. Sometimes I'm very quiet, but like on the road, you'll almost, if I'm always in the right state of mind, you'll never hear me complain, because we have the best job in the world. I mean, all three of us are doing it in our own little unique way, but like we have the best job in the world. I couldn't imagine not playing drums for a living. And so it's like every time I'm about to bitch, it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
And the musicians that I admire the most, you know, some of whom are like really close friends of mine, it's not that they're never cynical. It's not that they're not dark sometimes, but they don't inflict it on anyone else.
Yes.
You know, and it's not that they sort of like lock it in a box and never talk about it either. They process it, and they find a way to bring a good version of themselves to whatever situation they're in, and they find a way to make other people feel good about being there too. And you know, we should talk about the polar opposite of cynicism, which is just being a doe-eyed, naive baby, right? Which doesn't serve anything either. Like that can be just as dangerous as going completely to the dark side. But you know, my therapist talked about, in terms of darkness, in terms of cynicism, in terms of sarcasm, snark, negativity, or whatever, it can be a way to bond with people, and it can be very endearing. Like if you can demonstrate that you can go there but come back, that's where the good stuff is, I think. He said at a certain point you stop demonstrating that you can go there and you start demonstrating that you can't leave. And I've had people in my life who, my initial sort of read on them, they throw out this snark, they throw out this cynicism, they throw out these dark jokes. And initially I'm attracted to it because like that's my sense of humor too. And that, you know, so initially I'm like, fuck yeah, that was funny, that was cool. I hope this person likes me. But over time, they are consistent enough in their cynicism and in their darkness and in their negativity that it stops being funny and it stops being endearing, and it starts really sticking to me and fucking with me. And so I don't want to be that guy.
I think cynicism, if you never reach cynicism, I don't think you're thinking enough. You know?
Yes, I agree. And you know, my therapist said the more intelligent you are, the easier it is to be cynical.
Yes.
And I think that's mostly true, but another thing about cynicism is that I'm more tolerant of it if I believe that it is earned, honestly, right? Like if, you know, and I encounter some people who I'm like, you don't have enough miles on you to be this cynical. And it's just like, it's becoming... For some people, and you know, I'm talking like the old guy now, but I think for some millennials and Gen Z people, it's like the default setting. They you know, they have come of age in this completely idiotic time of look at the world, look at politics, look at the environment, look at the fucking globe right now. So that's the backdrop against which they have come up. But when it comes to their reaction to Angine de Poitrine, I'm like, who hurt you? Why do you not trust these guys? Like why do you think that this is a marketing gimmick? Why do you think that the only reason they've come across your feed is because they have a good publicist? Like, you know, like I literally got into these arguments on Reddit, which, you know, is my bad for just engaging with Reddit about this at all.
That's fun sometimes.
It is. And I actually put up a post on Reddit. I posted a video of them, and it was on the drum sub. And I was like, what do we think of these guys? I was initially skeptical, but I'm kind of here for it. Like, what do we think? And to be fair, there were plenty of comments and plenty of people who were like, these guys are fucking great. I don't understand it, but it's cool. It's not my cup of tea. I'm a prog rock super fan and this is the shit. Like, there were lots of positive comments, but there were an alarming number of people in comments that just talked about their publicist and just talked about how this is a gimmick and were just completely mistrustful and dismissive of the entire thing as an artistic item. Like, they didn't want to talk about the music or the art or the phenomenon of it. They just wanted to talk about the reasons why it doesn't deserve to, or just the reasons why anybody knows about it at all.
They don't even want to talk about how a band like that gets a publicist in the first place. Like,
right.
Genuinely.
Well, it's just a way to have an opinion without actually having an opinion.
Exactly. And it's easier to have a negative opinion than it is to form a positive one. And if you have a negative opinion based on past experience, like, I will hear you out. But if you're just like shooting from the hip with mistrust of people's motivations or intentions, that's going to wear thin real fast with me.
Well, and the thing that people don't like to talk about, and I do think that sometimes it comes from a jealous place, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of musicians who look at a band like Angine and they don't get it. They're just like, what is this? Why have I been working so hard and long doing what I'm doing, and maybe it's not connecting, and then this band just puts on these insane outfits and plays noise and everyone loses their minds? Like, what the hell's going on here?
Yes.
Which, you know, I sympathize. You know, it's not the right approach, of course, but I can sympathize with that perspective. You know, like, it's tough.
Yeah, that perspective is someone who thinks linearly when it comes, like, their money and their success story is a linear thing where, like, input given means output. Really, you know, it's not how the world works when it comes to art. Right. And I mean, the same song released 3 months later will be released into an entirely different ecosystem, and that's just the way it is. And so I think a lot of people have the cynicism, exactly like what you're saying, because it diminishes the value that they've put on their work. It's like, oh, now this currency just became irrelevant, and now my entire life savings means nothing to them, and that's why they get like, fuck those guys.
Yeah, they also think that's one less spot for them.
Exactly.
To make it, you know, it's like it becomes like a finite success is like a finite resource, you know.
Yes.
Right.
Doesn't quite work that way.
And I think they also talk as if Angine is something that these guys just dreamt up last month. You know.
Yeah.
And they composed some songs and they put on the masks and they turned on the camera and boom, they're everywhere. But, you know, my understanding is that they've been at this since 2019, and I don't know if it's been their main thing or their only thing or whatever, but it's been a thing since 2019, and I can only assume that they've been playing to rooms of 50 people in Montreal and Quebec City for a long time. And they did this one spot on, I think, KEXP on YouTube, and that's what blew them up. And it's not that they were completely unknown before, but the YouTube sort of social media lightning just struck, and people were like, you know, they got a good quality video, they got good quality audio, and there was, you know, it was just like, here's the thing we've created, and people responded to it. So yeah, I guess it's just like, you know, judging something without context. I think like we are living through the death of context. You know.
Yeah.
Laughing to keep from crying.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other contextual benefit that I had when sort of reckoning with these guys is that I was in Montreal for a week, like 2 months ago. And Juliet tour was in Montreal for a week. And these guys aren't from Montreal, but they're from Quebec, near there somewhere. And, you know, Quebec is the French province of Canada, and it is kind of its own time zone culturally and artistically, and it's contrarian. It's kind of like, no, fuck you. We are French. We do it this way. I was there in March. It was still like the dead of winter. The sidewalks are sheets of ice, and these fucking crazy people are jogging in their little yoga pants and their Adidas. I just got the sense that people who are from there are an independent and spiritually rugged bunch, and there's not many fucks given in Quebec and in Montreal, and the art scene in Montreal is like joyful and goofy And it reminded me in some ways of the Pacific Northwest. It's like Portland without the baggage. You know, that is the soil that these guys grew out of. And I think it's just helpful when considering them, you know, consider where they came from. Yeah, that was just kind of front and center in my mind, having just visited that area.
What do you listen to music? Like, why do you listen to music?
I think in my current chapter, I turn to it for relaxation and inspiration.
Perfect. What about you, Eric?
I listen to music because I have a rehearsal coming up, and I'm
Cynicism. Same.
Spoken like a true working drummer.
No, it makes me happy. You know, it makes me feel inspired. I feel something.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. You want to feel a certain way. And so if that band makes some people feel a certain way, whether they're only doing it because their friends say they should like it and they need to feel included, and it's like, why does it matter if it's a gimmick or if it's just totally not authentic? I guess in a way you can say if someone's doing AI and then actually making other people lose jobs, that's when I'm like, all right, let's be cynical and let's see how fake this is. But if it's genuine people making music, even if it's something I think is so fucking bad, if enough people are dancing to it, I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And that is the thing that blows my mind the most about this band, is like, we are talking about microtonal, odd meter math rock, and these guys have found a way to fill rooms with Gen Z cool kids who are singing along to this shit. Mm-hmm. Like, and you talk about inclusion, you talk about, you know, feeling included in something. I was reminded immediately of the, you know, the triangle thing they do. Like, they hold up their hands and they make a triangle, and nobody knows what the fuck that means, but they do it, and then everybody in the crowd does it, and they're all on the same team. Whether it's a cynical gimmick or whether there's some profound statement behind it or whether it is utter nonsense, they've really found a way to break through.
I think the big takeaway for me is that it's okay to not get it. Like, yeah. That I think was my biggest struggle when I was younger, is I'd just be like, I just don't get why NSYNC gets 1 billion listens. You know, yeah. It just didn't make any sense. Now I get it a little bit more, but like, I think that's where that comes from. It's just this frustration of like, everyone's in this club and I just don't resonate with it at all. And I think it's just, we have to realize it's okay to not get it.
It's okay to not get it, and it's okay to say out loud that you don't get it, but also it's okay to just not have a fucking opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like not knowing information. Like, nowadays it's like, we don't know what it's like to experience not knowing things. And right. I think that's a beautiful human thing that is lost, and we don't know how to not have an opinion. We don't know how to be like, I don't know enough information. Who knows?
Yeah. Now, the cynical part of me, which will probably never leave, I imagine this could become the QAnon of music, right? A bunch of music dorks could go in so hard on this shit and start ascribing meaning where there is none, and start assigning letters to different tone rows, and, you know, I could see it going this way.
Satanic panic, yeah.
But, you know, this is my internal struggle and my internal dialogue. I want to turn the volume down on all that noise and turn the volume up on the, you know, the voices within me and outside of me that are saying, like, this is a cool, positive thing. This is a joyful, you know, genuine thing. And it might be a fad that comes and goes very quickly, or they could have a lasting impact.
The beautiful thing is that people have the right and almost responsibility to digest it in the way that feels authentic to them. And there's a risk involved with art. Does art have to be perceived to be finished?
Not at all. Not at all. Because I think people think of art as a product, but in its purest form, it's a process. Nice. And yeah. in that sense, it is for the artist. There are people who make art of one sort or another, whether it's music or painting or sculpture or poetry, and nobody ever sees or hears it, and they don't care. They don't think of it as a product that they want to be perceived by somebody else. They think of it as a process that they benefit from going through. You know, going back to Angine, if I'm going to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, then the sort of viral success and visibility that they've achieved recently, they're probably like, great, icing on the cake, cool. But the reason we're doing this is how we feel and what we learn and how we grow in doing it. You know, I don't think it was their objective to play Madison Square Garden one day. I think it was their objective to put this shit in front of people and make them fucking reckon with it. And this is what our weirdo human brains and hearts have come up with.
But what if you ask them and they're like, yeah, we had this delusional image of us playing Madison Square Garden. Like, would that make
no chance.
Hey, man.
I know how to make millions of fans. What if we write microtonal music and we paint ourselves in polka dots and wear paper mache masks? What do you think?
Cynical
That's
bastard, dude.
This is what I'm saying.
You cynical person